how do we eliminate these folks? And by the way, they're funded. They're funded by Qatar and Iran.
Yeah, they are. Yes,
Qatar is a big enemy of Israel.
Yes, they are, Mr. Mayor. Mayor, can I ask you a question? I'm so glad you brought that up. So I have always looked at Hamas as Nazis. They're terrorists. Have you always looked at Hamas as Nazis?
Unfortunately, yes, and it was demonstrated October 7 what they do.
Yeah, so you always have. Have most of the Israeli people always looked upon Hamas as Nazis?
Well, you know, some of the people in Israel, because we seek peace, thought maybe one day they will prefer peace than war. October 7,
what about Benjamin Netanyahu? What about him? Has he always looked upon Hamas as Nazis?
Well, you're talking about Qatar or Hamas?
Hamas.
I think that everyone understands that Hamas's charter is to destroy Israel. And by the way, not only Israel.
So you've always known this. I mean, yeah, we know the charter.
Yes.
So let me ask you this question, and I can't get an answer, and maybe we're just not covering it in the press. Maybe you can help me out. Why did Benjamin Netanyahu send the head of Mossad to Doha 3 weeks before the worst attack on Jews since the Holocaust and told Qatar to continue funding Hamas?
I think, if anything, October 7 shattered that concept. And it's my understanding.
But you just said you always knew they were Nazis. I always knew they were Nazis. I would never give. We were always angry that Qatar funded Hezbollah and Hamas. I want to know, why did Benjamin Netanyahu do that? Let me ask you this. Why did Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump know in 2018 the sources of Hamas's illicit funding, and they still did nothing? They wanted that money to get to Hamas. I'd like to know why, because we don't know in America. Have there been any investigations in Israel at this point?
I'm sure we'll investigate it, and I totally agree with you. That Qatar is a wolf in sheep's clothes, and they're buying their way in.
No. I must correct you. Benjamin Netanyahu was asked by the leaders of Qatar, do you want us, Qatar, to give money to Hamas? This was in September. And Netanyahu's representative said, yes, of course. You're feeding that wolf, and you're telling that wolf to feed the Nazis in Gaza. So explain to me, because I really want to know, why was Benjamin Netanyahu and his government funding? They were allies with Qatar in the funding of Hamas. Why?
I think it's a mistake, and it was uncovered October 7th. October 7th demonstrated that if you think you could buy quiet, peace, by funding Hamas, it's a huge mistake. And it's clear to me right now.
Why did Benjamin Netanyahu, knowing that their charter said that they were to kill Jews and eradicate Israel, why would any leader of Israel work to fund that organization to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars and work with Qatar to fund Hamas?
I think that question should be asked, and we'll get an answer. We'll ask.
It's been asked. When are we going to get the answer?
Fine.
We've been asking it for 6 months. When are we going to get the answer?
At the end of the day, once we finish the war, all these challenges will rise, and we'll deal with them. Right now, we're focused on winning the war. And I want to make sure.
I need to ask you another question.
Please.
I want to ask you another question because you brought this up.
Yes.
You brought it up, and it is so sickening to think about the Israeli women that were beaten, raped, murdered, the Israeli grandmothers who were burned to death, the toddlers who were shot in their beds for 10 hours. Some of these people waited for Benjamin Netanyahu's government to come and rescue them. Those people whose faces you were holding up, they sat and they waited in shelters. Their children saw their parents shot. Parents saw some children shot. And they kept waiting for Netanyahu's government to come rescue them. 2, 3, 4, 7, 10, in some cases 13 hours. Where was Benjamin Netanyahu? Where was the IDF? Where were the defense forces over those 12, 13 hours while the worst slaughter of Jews since the Holocaust was unfolding within 40, 50 miles of Netanyahu?
Let me answer you. We will investigate that. We were caught by surprise. And there are many faults.
Let me ask you
both
this.
of the army and the government.
How could you be caught by surprise? How could you be caught by surprise when you had Hamas's plans for a year? Netanyahu had Hamas's terror attacks for a year. Why didn't they act on it?
These faults will be uncovered, and there are many challenges, and we will investigate everything.